ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter. Nathaniel's throwing up peace signs. What up?
Yo.
Yes,
Peace.
sir.
Peace to the world. I am your host, Adam Schwartz. This is Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. Keeping it casual here, boys. Casual. On today's episode, in the news, we got a Lion King prequel in the works.
What?
What? No trailer talk this week. Our new to streaming. It's the first week of the month. Well, we're gonna get the tail end. We're gonna get the first half of the first week of October, and then the tail end of September. So that's gonna be in the new to streaming. So it's gonna be a long list here. We'll get to what we're watching for the week, and our main review for this episode is Insidious, another horror flick.
We've started the horror countdown.
And it's going to continue. But before we get to any of that, let me introduce my co-hosts here in a sauna.
Yeah, it's my Russian lodge.
Ah, okay. In his on a vacation, it's the professor, Nathaniel Gingrich.
I know this is the first time. This is the first time we've all been in different locations. I think.
Yeah, it is
true.
That's true.
Because
you're usually in the same room with Tyler.
It does kind of look like that, doesn't it? I'm currently in a cedar closet.
A cedar closet.
It's good for
mom's place.
for like high quality knits.
Exactly. This is where we keep all our quilts, all of our anything that could be eaten by moths. But it also is good for recording, so that's what we're doing here.
That is big facts. Looks like a good spot for recording. Looks nice and cozy.
It is cozy. I would describe it as cozy.
Cozy. All right, we'll go with that.
It's
also joining me
the house.
Is a cabin within the house.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I go for. During Halloween, I go cabin in the woods, but then I actually don't have one in the woods, so I just build it in my house. Yeah,
gotcha. It's all about scale. You know, you got to shrink it down. You can't go full cabin. Go to just cabin room.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
True.
Makes sense. Well, also joining me today, it's Popcorn Tyler.
Hey.
How are you doing, Popcorn Tyler? The big 3-0.
Yeah, I had my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Sunday, so thank you.
Happy
belated, man. Shout out to everybody that was involved. I love you guys. I love you, Carolia. You're perfect. And yeah, that's about it.
How sweet.
You're welcome.
I said everybody involved. You know I love you.
I mean, I called you. Does that count?
No. I'm talking to Nathaniel.
Oh, rip.
I got a condescending thank you from him. Yeah, it was really great. I was just explaining to you guys, and it's obviously quite the story. So I will
extravaganza.
Yeah, short version is I have wonderful friends and family, and a perfect girlfriend, and I have an arcade game of Golden Tea in my living room now, and plenty of other gifts. So thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be 30? Any different?
No different. The only advice I got, and it wasn't really advice, was there were more warnings. But they're just like, hey, hangovers are gonna last you like fucking 8 weeks, and you're gonna wake up with aches and pains every morning. And I'm like, okay, thanks, guys. This has been great.
Ty, we officially have. I mean, if you're going by just your age, flat out, we officially have a decade separating.
A decade, yeah. I said that the other day out loud. I think it was to Carolia, and I just kind of like looked up in the air, very majestically, and I was like, "What a time!"
What a time. The Indian movie scene. Protagonist screams in the air.
Yeah, exactly. I walked out, and he was just on the porch the other day, just naked from the waist screaming into the sun.
And last, but certainly not least, is Big Cat Blake.
Yes, sir. What's up, bro?
You got a Big Cat Blake break for us?
Yeah, do we have a Big Cat Blake break?
I don't really have a fact. I have an observation I came across.
Okay.
So obviously, he's my main source of receiving any information, which happens to be YouTube.
YouTube, of course.
and there was a video, and I actually think it's a guy. He's a pretty famous guy. I can't think of his name, but he has like a sanctuary of large animals. I think he's pretty famous on Instagram as well.
Joe Exotic?
No, not that guy. I can't think of this guy. It's like he might be somewhere in the Middle East or something like that.
Whoa.
Okay.
But so he just has tons of like tigers, lions. He kind of takes them in and kind of rehabilitates them. And it was very interesting just to see like the cats interact with each other like at a young age and like seeing their body type. So for example, like seeing like small tigers and lions and things like that, or cubs, I should say, interacting with smaller cubs of like lynx and bobcats and stuff. And you can certainly see just like the body proportion size is crazy compared to those cats, even at a young age, where like they even look so much more muscular, and you can tell it's just going to be a much larger animal in general, opposed to a bobcat, a lynx, a clouded leopard, whatever it may be.
Sure.
So I kind of looked in and I was like, so why is that? And then most of the information I found is because all of the cats that are typically larger and that can roar, they go back to the same, I believe it's going to be genus.
Yeah, genus.
In terms of genus.
Yeah.
They're actual species, and they're all the Panthera genus.
Makes sense.
So I think that's why they kind of have more muscular body shapes. Their heads are way bigger, which is crazy. Yeah, like them as cubs, like their heads like half the size of their body. You know what I mean? Opposed to the other cats where it looks like a house cat, but just
large.
Sure.
There are some weird things when it comes to classifications, as far as like a cat, like a puma being a puma, but then like, or a big cat being a big cat, but then when you go down to their genuses, they can have such large variations, especially regionally and stuff like that. And that goes across all animals, not just cats, of course. Like, when you get down to the different types of the different species within species, or genus and within species, like it's crazy how big the differences can be, and they can still be classified as one.
Yeah, dude, it's weird.
Are you trying to do the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I was thinking about like the different branches on trees, and like kind of how they were like all next to each other, and then I just did this, and then I was just like, oh well, I have to do the Pale Man.
another visual gag for the audio podcast. We're just killing it, guys.
You're welcome.
Maybe we'll get video eventually.
Eventually.
All right. Well, thank you for that big cat observation there, Big Cat.
Of course.
I look forward to that every week. I love big cats too. And I
been a little while.
Look forward to every week. It's Craig and Craig backwards.
Craig and Gyrac.
Gyrac
recording. Listeners, that's our recording software that we're using to record in Discord, and every time that they enter the call to start recording, it just goes now recording in a really funny voice. And there's two of them. The main one's called Craig, but then the backup recorder is called Gyrac, as Tyler likes to say, but it's actually just Craig backwards, Jark. But somehow Tyler read that as Gyrac, and it's kind of stuck. So
2 vowels go walking, man. First one does talking. Read a book.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know how that applies here.
You guys have never heard that? What do you mean?
I've heard it. I just don't think it applies.
How not?
Because there's
the
R and
the consonants.
Yeah, you're just switching letters around. You're not.
No, you're not. GIA.
IA recording
is your 2 vowels. First one does the talking, so Jai, and then the A obviously is silent, and then RC that just comes out as rack. Gyrac. Don't be stupid.
Well, when you put it that way, I think I'm with Tyler.
See,
I still disagree, but okay.
Suck my ass.
All right, let's get into the show here, ladies and gents. In the news, we only got one news story for today, but it's kind of an odd one. One that I was not expecting to see anytime soon, but a Lion King prequel is in the works with director Barry Jenkins. So this is going to be a prequel Lion King movie, and it's going to be the same live action style as the one that came out in 2019. I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't either.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I haven't even seen the 2019 one.
Interesting.
You haven't?
Still have not seen it. No.
Well, is there a particular reason why? You are Big Cat Blake, after all.
This is true.
Yeah, I really don't know why. I think it's because as a child, I loved Toy Story way more than I enjoyed Lion King. And then everybody who saw Lion King 2019, is it not, I think it's just the same film, right?
Almost
As
needs to
the
be.
first one.
For the
It's
most
very
part.
similar. Yeah, there are some
Okay.
things that are obviously more likely to happen in an animated world versus a live action world, and
Right.
I think they left some stuff out to make it seem as real as possible, even though it's like
Right.
fake real.
Yeah, but then they did
Yeah.
like odd things, like during the "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" song, they said it during the daytime,
Right.
and I don't really
Yeah.
was like, I don't know
It's
what they were thinking, but I
I
trust Barry Jenkins. That's my thing.
Sure.
Like,
Mhm.
And it's also it's the screenplay and writing is going to be done by the same guy who did the screenplay for the live action one, but not the original Lion King. So
Gotcha.
yeah, he's
well,
working
then
off of
he'll have to like create his own stuff, which may be
exactly.
better.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
we'll
right.
see.
I mean, this could be interesting because you are just
It could
kind of
be.
making your own stuff up.
Well, yeah,
You're
it
not
says in the
going off
story.
something that was already done.
It says in the story, of course, from the Hollywood Reporter. The first one made 1.65 billion globally for Disney.
Mm.
So I mean, it's obviously even if it makes half of that, I'm sure it's going to make them a shit ton of money. And
That's
it's
got to
going to
be the
make more
most
than half of that.
successful of their reboots, I would imagine. Then
I would imagine, yeah. I think more people will go to see it maybe because it's not a remake and they would maybe want to see an original Lion King story. Since it's a prequel, I'm assuming what's the king's name?
Mufasa.
Mufasa, yeah. I'm assuming it's going to focus on Mufasa. That just leads me to think the question of is James Earl Jones, is he going to come back, you think? Because he's
Nah,
dude, no. I think if it's a younger him, probably not, but
no, I think they'll get a younger actor to do it, and then they'll still have Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar, and it'll maybe be
yeah,
them growing up and that kind of thing.
sure. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that casting plays out.
I mean, the only reason I say that is I think because James Earl Jones is just way old at this point.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree. He's getting up there for sure. How old is that man?
Who would you want it to be?
That's what I was thinking too. I was trying to think of some actors. I mean, I would say Childish Gambino or Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. I would say him, but he just played Simba.
I think his Simba sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Really? not that like I think he's
okay.
bad in it. I think the singing part of it's good, but like the difference between the resonance of James Earl Jones' voice, Chiwetel Ejiofor's voice, and then his was just way different from me.
Yeah.
Like, it did not sound like he was the age that he was supposed to be in that story.
I would agree with that. Yeah, when you point that out, they didn't match up very well. They didn't kind of all sync together very well, a little bit.
Yeah, I think he just sounds really young.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I want it to be Sterling K. Brown.
That'd be a great choice.
Who is that?
That'd be a great choice.
He is best known for being one of the dads, Randall in This Is Us.
But he's a really
Okay.
And then he's also
he's in Black Panther, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Mbaju or Jobu. He's Killmonger's dad, who gets killed in the beginning by his brother.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, he's a really good actor.
His voice is phenomenal.
I haven't seen a ton of This Is Us, but I've seen a little bit of it, and I recognize him from it. Yeah, you're right. His voice is really, really good. It would fit perfectly too.
Well, while we're on the Disney tip, fellas, I mean, obviously you guys enjoy Lion King. Do you guys enjoy Lion King more than Toy Story? Are you picking that over Toy Story?
Yeah.
Seems like I'm the only person on that side of the.
I'm neck and neck. Those are the.
I would
two
probably
right
take
there.
Toy Story actually.
Really?
Yeah, I would probably be with you on Toy
Good to
Story.
hear. Yeah, man. What about
Lion King
King?
was the first movie I thought I saw in theaters, so that will always be like there.
Sure.
But I think Toy Story is like also just like right there in my childhood with me.
Yeah, I also
have a friend in me. I'm telling you, man. I'll
Toy
pick that
Story,
over Lion King.
yeah.
Any day, dude.
Especially the fact, I mean, this isn't fair because Lion King hasn't had the sequels or chances to prove this, but the fact that
Right.
Toy Story has had 2, 3, and 4, and they're
Right.
all fantastic, that I think they should get a lot of credit for. Even though, like I said, Lion King doesn't have the chance to like prove that they can make good sequels. I guess this is kind of their first chance to do a spinoff.
Well, they've made sequels to
prequel.
Lion King. It's just not
Have
good.
they?
Yeah, they're
Yeah. Okay.
terrible.
Oh, never mind. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of Lion King.
You're
But
talking back in the day of the direct
Was
to
it like Lion
VHS
King 1.5
animated
and stuff like
sequels and
that?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
those suck.
that level of craft that the
Right.
Pixar brings.
I think Lion King
Toy
was
Story
just
2 and
so
everything
good
like
on
that.
its own; it didn't need a sequel.
no, it is a very solid story.
Yeah, Lion
wrapped
King's
up in one for
The
sure.
Lion King's that interesting one because it was kind of the B movie at Disney. So and mostly everyone was working on Pocahontas,
Right.
and then like the Lion King was just kind of the secondary team and stuff. So that's why it ended up actually being a lot more innovative because they had to kind of come around it, and it was just kind of one of those magical films that just everything
Right.
fell into place basically.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff too where I think. There's a Japanese series called Kimba the White Lion, which is almost like very, very close to Simba and his storyline and the storyline of the Lion King. So there's always been kind of rumors that they took that from there and stuff. But who knows? But I will always stand by Lion King. I think that's a fantastic movie.
And I don't think anyone can really be mad at you for that. Like,
Yeah.
they're both two classic franchise movies or IPs or whatever you want to call them. Because
I think
more of a franchise.
I think Lion King's better than Toy Story, but once you get into like Toy Story 3 and 4 or something like that,
I'll agree with that. I would agree with that.
As
If
a
you're
whole.
comparing if you're comparing the first Toy Story to the original Lion King, then I would say the Lion King is a better film. But I think 2, 3, and 4 just add up to such a great story.
Absolutely,
That's hard to argue.
Toy Story is gonna be like in the fabric of movies for forever because it was those first movies that did that.
Of course.
What
So then what about like modern Disney movies then, right? So like what do you guys hold as what's your favorite modern? I know Tyler loves Frozen. I know.
Yo, I'm in. And like the funny part for that is Frozen 2 for most people that are like my age that are still into Disney stuff is a better film.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen the second one.
I still haven't seen the second one. We've talked about this on pod before, but I still haven't seen
I
the
own
second
both
one.
of them. Steelbook.
I think Frozen 1's the better movie.
They're on Disney Plus. So
they're incredible.
What are you
know what?
picking,
I'll watch it this winter at some point. What were you saying, Blake?
What are you picking, Adam, for your favorite modern?
What are we defining as modern? Like what year can I
question.
choose from?
I mean, when's
The
the first
Renaissance
Frozen?
started with Tangled.
Oh,
Tangled? Okay. Tangled was 08, I think. Somewhere around there.
When's Frozen?
Maybe 09.
13.
Tangled 2010.
Frozen's 13. Really?
Look at them, boys. They're beautiful.
Again, this is an audio podcast, guys. I don't know when. I don't know when you're going to catch on. Listeners, Tyler's holding up both of his copies of Frozen and Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Steelbook.
So are you going? You're going Tangled, Adam? Is that what you're saying?
No, Tangled is one of the earliest ones.
There's so many good ones like Moana, Finding Dory. God, the list goes on. What do you got? Come on.
Are you including Pixar or Disney
Inside
only?
Out easily, dude. I love that movie.
Inside Out. Ooh, Inside Out is really good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I might.
Well, wait. Are you going
that.
Pixar too, or are you going only Disney?
No, I think it's fair because
I
Pixar
think
is
they
owned
kind
by
of go
Disney.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, fair enough.
Well, then I might say Toy Story 3 or 4
Well, I could see that.
because loved both of those. Maybe Toy Story 3.
Yeah. Nathaniel?
If we're counting it, I would say Toy Story 3 is a solid lock.
Yeah, I mean Toy Story 3 would be up there for me, I would say. I don't know. I mean Disney's been on a hot streak for a few years now, and particularly in animation and and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I have a tough time like picking one as a favorite out of all of those. Probably Toy Story 3, I'd say. Yeah. That was the one that definitely affected me the most.
I cried in that movie, dude. I cried at the ending. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
Inside Out was really good too.
Inside Out was really good. I respect that choice for sure. Is Wreck-It Ralph? Is that Disney?
Wreck-It Ralph's Disney.
That's another pretty good one.
Yeah, I was thinking Wreck-It Ralph too about that earlier. I think
isn't there two?
There is. Yeah, I haven't seen the second one.
I haven't seen the second one either. I've heard it's okay.
It's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go lock in with Toy Story 3, but we can move on.
Are we just doing animated stuff? Because isn't like The Greatest Showman Disney? Like,
all right, we're not. Yeah, I think Blake meant more animated stuff. Because then, if you want to go into that, then Marvel is Disney.
Yeah.
Star Wars
that's
is Disney.
true. That's true. I forgot about that.
We got to draw the line somewhere.
That's true. I did forget about those.
Yeah. All right. So that's gonna be it for the news this week. No trailer talk, like I said before. So we'll get to the new to streaming. So like I said, this is gonna be the tail end of September and then the first half week of October. First few days this week basically. So you are getting the new month of October in. First week is the biggest. So on Netflix, you got Bad Teacher, Sword Art Online Season 3, and then Stranger Than Fiction. Not a ton coming from Netflix, unfortunately. Amazon Prime has got 30 Days of Night, The Cabin in the Woods, Hereditary, Midsommar, Secret Window, Silent Hill, and Super 8. Pretty good horror lineup there. Pretty good horror lineup. We did check Hereditary and Midsommar have been on Amazon Prime, so we're not sure why they showed up on the list. We were talking about this before we started recording.
Because October's coming up.
I think so too. That, or like I said, maybe their rights were up and they're just renewing them or something like that.
That's true.
Yeah. Hulu is getting the Blade Trinity. So all 3 Blades, and then trilogy. Sorry, I saw Blade Trinity, Blood Ties as the title, and I said Trinity instead of trilogy.
Got it.
You hate to see it. Hostel 1 and Hostel Part 2, The Hurt Locker, Kicking and Screaming, Snakes on a Plane, Superbad, and Wayne's World 2 all coming to Hulu.
That's a good lineup.
It is a good lineup. It's pretty solid. But HBO Max is the longest list. We'll see if they have the best list. You think it's the best?
That Amazon
it's pretty
Prime
solid.
list is really good.
Well, it depends. If you're looking for horror, I would say the
Right.
Amazon Prime list is like a good kit. But in general, HBO Max has got a pretty nice list here. It's Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, and Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Is that 1 and 2, or is that 2 and 3, or 1 and 3? 1 and 2. Okay,
I think that's 1 and 2.
Wasn't sure. Yeah. The Color Purple, Day of the Dead, Dirty Dancing, Lethal Weapon 1 through 4, Man of Steel, The Matrix Reloaded, and The Matrix Revolution. 7, Sherlock Holmes, the 2009 Robert Downey Jr. one that we were talking about, either last pod or the pod before.
That was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, okay. Then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 through 3. These are like the old ones, the 70s ones. 70s and 80s. And then it's got Training Day, Us from the 2019 Jordan Peele one. And then When Harry Met Sally. That's your HBO Max list for the week. And Disney Plus is getting Maleficent and Cheaper by the Dozen too.
Dope.
Yeah, pretty solid.
Cheaper by the dozen too.
Of course, dude. That's the one where they go to the lake house and there's a bunch of cool stuff going on. And then there's the rival family across the lake that's really rich.
You know way too much about this film.
I watched it a lot as a kid. I watched 1 and 2 a lot as a kid.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen that since I've been like in a daycare, dude.
I remember at one point, one of the Baker kids gets caught for stealing makeup. I forgot the actress's name, but she's in like Camp Rock and stuff. Yeah,
Hilarious.
great movies, just great. Those are movies I did watch a lot as a kid. Are there any other movies that I listed off that you guys think are worth checking out, or you guys might check out?
7 if you haven't seen it.
For
I
sure.
haven't, so I might.
Training Day as well, if you haven't seen that.
Training Day.
Are these the live action Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones from
Rid of the
70s.
ooze, bro.
Yeah.
So watch the first and the second one. Third one, it's about time travel and it's really weird. But
First
yeah,
one's
the first
definitely
two
still
are
good.
phenomenal.
Cool.
First one holds up. Hostel. You never saw Hostel?
Yeah, Hostel 1 and 2, those are great too.
I need to watch those.
I like the first
Probably-
one better
probably
than the
will at
second
some
one.
point.
I would
Now that-
agree.
The first one's
Yeah.
way better.
I'm sorry, Nathaniel.
I said the first one's way better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
30 Days of
what else
Night,
is on
for
there?
sure. You need to check out that.
Yeah, man. I'm a huge advocate for that one. I think that's one of the better adaptations of vampires. I think I said that last week or the week before.
Have I told my favorite 30 Days of Night fact on the pod?
I don't think
No,
so.
I actually want to hear
Please
this.
enlighten us, Professor.
My favorite 30 Days of Night fact is the fact that it's directed by David Slade, who also directed the third Twilight movie.
Hilarious.
So, like,
I think you
two
did
just
say that.
very different types of vampires
I
there.
think you have stated that.
You might have. I don't remember.
Yeah. But yeah,
Interesting nonetheless,
That's a really
though,
good
Nathaniel.
vampire flick.
Yeah, it's very
what else
strange.
is on here that I can kind of pinpoint?
The Hurt Locker. If you're looking for something that's not horror to watch, The Hurt Locker is a really good one that I would recommend if you haven't seen. That's coming to Hulu.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. I would certainly skip Snakes on a Plane unless you want a really, really, really good laugh.
You can't
Didn't laugh.
skip Samuel.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, dude.
God, all these motherfucking snakes.
Motherfucking play.
That line is hilarious every
It was,
time.
dude. It was incredible for like an entire year.
I feel like they built the movie around that line.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Is
If
that
that-
that's
if
probably
that
one of his
came
most
out-
famous lines.
Oh yeah.
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 If that
I
came
know.
out now and like the internet, what it is now versus what it was when that first came out, that'd be one of the funniest things ever.
Mhm.
There's something weird about it. Like I always remember there being like a story of like it having a different title or something like that, and then they were just like, "No, we're calling it Snakes on a Plane" or something, or like Samuel L. Jackson saying like, "Call it Snakes on a Plane" or something like that. Yeah.
All right. We ready to get into what we're watching then, boys?
I
Let's
believe
talk about
so.
what we've been watching.
What would you like to start us off, Nathaniel? You seem very eager.
Sure.
All right.
What did we watch? Let me check my movies real quick. Tyler and I definitely watched way more. We finished Attack on Titan or caught up.
We
on
did.
it. I don't think we talked about that last week.
So you're officially caught up.
We
We
are
are
officially
caught
caught up. Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Big old recommend from me if you haven't caught
Yeah.
up yet.
I definitely need to catch up and rewatch.
Yeah, it's the way I've been thinking about that movie a lot in terms of the way that it tells its story and how it kind of gets there. I thought that was really fascinating. And then also, and I've talked about this on pod before, but there's the way that show is created in terms of the movement of the characters, and that they have this kind of gear that allows you
Yeah.
to move through three-dimensional space in a very different way. And they tie that so heavily with the camera too, and the camera
They
work.
really do. Yeah.
I think is just really unique and presents a very mobile show. And I think it feels like it paces differently, and so it's in the same way that Mad Max Fury Road feels different, in that they're always moving, and so you're kind of always waiting for these moments of quietness. And sometimes the show doesn't give it to you, and that's a really interesting way of telling a story and kind of building that tension and coming at it from that angle. So
Yeah. The other thing I like about that show is their scale that they play with the walls, and then you have the Colossal Titan and you have the regular Titans, and then you just see these humans, and they do a really good job of just showing you how just puny these humans are compared to these Titans and stuff like that.
Yeah. I love the battleground being the rooftops. I think that's
Yeah.
so unique, and again that kind of gets into kind of what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, you're right. The sense of scale in that is great.
It is.
If they ever do a live action American release or something like that, I feel like you got to get like.
Well, they've made a live action Attack on Titan before.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking.
Yeah,
about
they made the
American one.
Japanese. Yeah, sure.
I think if they got the guy Gareth Edwards, who did he did Rogue One and he did 2014 Godzilla, his sense of scale is, I think, the best I've seen in Hollywood so far. If they got him to do it, I can imagine that would just be incredible. But
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I would be so down for a live action adaptation of Attack on Titan. I think that looks so good. Done well, at least, because
Yeah,
it could
for
very
sure.
easily be done poorly.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
How big do you think they are compared to King Ghidorah? So that was just in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Well, they talk about
Well,
it.
it
Like I
depends
think
because there's
yeah.
different sizes of
Yeah.
Titans, which
Right.
is again places the sense of scale. It's really cool. Like you don't always have to worry about this big ass thing just putting an arm through your entire house. There's ones that can like fit inside your house that are like 5 meters tall or something like that. It's just like ridiculously scary.
Yeah, that's one of the scarier moments in the series. There's a moment where a character comes up on a house that looks fine, but then like as you kind of walk around the house, you see like a Titan inside the house, like on all fours, going after people. And then there's other ones where like the main one's about 14 meters tall, I think they say.
That's
and then,
I think that's the average.
Yeah, and then you have like the huge ones who are 40 to 50 meters tall.
Well, I think the Colossal Titan is 100 meters.
Okay, well there you go. So
I could be I could be wrong about that, but I remember from when I've watched it that I just remember the number being 100 meters tall.
Yeah, that probably makes
a
sense.
nice round 100. The other thing that the show does that is kind of cool is they have Titans that have like abnormalities, like genetic defects or whatever you want to call them. That
I
have
remember that.
What did you say? Sorry,
60 meters.
That's how tall the Colossal Titan is.
Yeah.
I know how big King Ghidorah was in King of the Monsters.
I'm gonna see if I can Google that.
Yeah, I'll continue on this Titan thing though. So there are Titans that have that are extra fast that just will run at you instead of really try to kind of just grab you. There's one that flops. What are some other ones from the show? There's some that are like faster, some that run on all fours.
Usually the abnormals will run on all fours, or like
Yeah.
they will ignore one human to go after you or something like that.
Yeah.
The Beast.
or they can hide a lot easier. Is the Beast taller than the Colossal?
No.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's a really unique show, and like as the story unfolds, it really changes scope as well. So that you realize the way that they've been telling the story is very unique, and that's really what I've been turning over in my head the most recently. Is kind of like having finished the last season and with those kind of revelations that have come out so far. The author's choice and how he has told the story, or because it's a manga first, so there is an author, is very, very interesting to me. So that's been really cool. And then Tyler and I have also been watching a lot of.
Real quick, sorry. How big do you think King Ghidorah is?
I think he's 500 feet.
You're actually really close. It's 158 meters.
521.
Yeah. So 158 meters, 521 feet.
So he's twice the size of the Colossal Titan.
I would say like almost, I guess twice, yeah.
Oh,
And
2.5.
a little bit more.
His scale in King of the Monsters is insane. That was one movie I was so excited to see, and I don't think it's that great of a movie, but it was just really cool to see the scale on those monsters in that big of a screen.
I think they do a better sense. I think they do a better sense of scale in the first one, but I think the second one is like much more destruction.
For sure.
The best part in terms of scale in the second one is when you see Rodan going through the town and like creating that crazy like storm after
just
it.
The wind
it's so big. Yeah.
Like, and then even in the first one, I mean, you get the sense of scale of Godzilla in that airport scene where you don't even see Godzilla to the final like 2 minutes of the movie.
That's the best scene of that movie.
Bro.
Them doing
and then
that
it's
Halo
just his
drop.
foot like next to a plane, and it's like massive.
Yeah, the guy's shooting the flares up, and they don't get high enough for him. So
it just goes up to like his thigh.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Big Godzilla fan.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about Gareth Edwards and his sense of scale. The way he shoots his scenes makes you realize just how big these are, rather than just having like two monsters out on a field.
On the horizon, you got them next to buildings, and it's like, oh wow, they're taller than a skyscraper. He does way more than that,
for sure,
to really give you a sense of it. Anything else you guys have been watching? Ty, Nathaniel?
My Hero.
I was gonna say I have a couple more things, but I don't know if Nathaniel's finished.
I'll talk about My Hero, then I got one more.
Go for it.
So we did. We've also been, after finishing Attack on Titan, we've been hitting My Hero Academia really hard, which we talked about last week, and this week we got to like a big kind of turning point, I think, in the series, and both Tyler and I just kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh wow. We still have another like season and a half to catch up on. This is awesome. Like we're so used to like.
Where are you guys in the show?
The beginning of season 3. I want to say you're 10 episodes into season 3.
Yeah, something like that.
And how many seasons are there? 5?
4 so far, but they're like 25 episodes a season. I want to say.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So, that's been really exciting. That's another show that I think animation wise is really, really well done. As far as animes go, we've talked previously in the past about like how Avatar at the start does not have particularly good animation, or some of the other shows that we've kind of gone over. The quality jumps up and down as we go. This one in particular, I think this and Attack on Titan do a really, really good job of animation. And as someone that's kind of more new into anime and just kind of thinking that. Or just thinking about it critically for the first time, it has been interesting to watch that kind of dip in quality and rise in quality as well. Because I think as a kid, you just don't really notice, or it doesn't really strike you as weird. But
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm moving on to my next thing. So you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say it's just interesting. I don't know how many masters in film are anime fans, so it's gonna be interesting hearing you talk more and more about anime.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because anime does get a lot of shit from movie enthusiasts or whatever you want to. I feel like not a lot of people appreciate it for the kind of cartoonish and creativity that it brings to art.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
there's still a huge stigma around it for sure,
Yeah.
and particularly
Oh,
in
yeah.
the West.
Yes.
But I think they've tapped into a style of storytelling or they're very it's so often that the main character doesn't have to be the main character. Like we are
Mhm.
so used to the hero's journey, the hero's quest, and that kind of thing. And so often those characters get limited to about 3 core characters. But anime I've been finding so often just does a really good job of spreading that three-dimensionality out across large swaths of characters. Like My Hero, you have 20 people in the class, and you pretty much know and have details about 20 people in the class, or Attack on Titan. There's about 7 or 8 in the crew that you do that, and that's something I think that they do better than us in particular, or I should say, anime has done better than Western in
Yeah.
what I've experienced so far. But
I would agree. Yeah.
the other thing I watched, we came home, or I came to visit my mom and my brother this weekend, so we've been watching, we watched Enola Holmes last night, which is new to Netflix. It's got Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things and
Oh,
Henry
okay. Her
Cavill,
show.
Henry
Ooh,
Cavill
okay.
as Sherlock Holmes, and then Sam Claflin and Helena Bonham Carter, and Millie Bobby Brown plays Enola Holmes, who's the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes, and it's kind of told from her perspective as her mom goes missing, and they're trying to kind of find her and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's
How was it?
it's sweet. It's a cute movie. I think it's basically there to be a Millie Bobby Brown star vehicle, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
definitely fun. It's if you're with the family or something like that, you don't want to put on anything too divisive. Definitely a nice movie
A
to
Henry
watch with the family.
Cavill Sherlock definitely has me intrigued.
He doesn't
How does he do?
he doesn't do a whole lot. It's definitely still Enola's movie.
Okay, sure.
So
Okay.
he's kind of working throughout the background. But he's fun. Yeah, it's nice to see him. He's the
Mhm.
biggest Sherlock I've ever seen. Like a shit brick
Yeah, I
ass.
would say he's bigger than RDJ and Cumberbatch. So
But
those are
yeah,
the two that come
so
to mind for me.
he's kind of one of those refrigerator type people that you kind of have to get a
Mhm.
dolly to move around. But
Yeah.
no, it was really fun. It was a good kind of lighthearted, sweet
Would you
movie.
recommend it?
Yeah, I would. If you, like I said,
Okay.
if you're sitting at home and you're with the family or something like that, or you just want something light and easy to put on and stuff like that. It meanders a little bit, but it's just kind of that style of movie. So
I got you. All right, Ty, what you got that you watched without your best friend?
Well, we went through My Hero, we went through Attack on Titan. Leah and I watched a chick flick, or a romp, movie. I don't know what you call it, whatever. But
Sure.
I thoroughly enjoy them as well. This one was A Walk to Remember, which
Walk
I'm
to
sure most
Remember.
people have seen. Mandy
I
Moore.
have not, but that's not a surprise.
It's a bit older.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah,
I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah, so it's a really good movie. There's a
2002.
transformation character arc of one of the main guys, and then I don't know. You guys want me to spoil it? You really give a shit?
I can just
I
read the
probably
description
won't.
really quick
Yeah.
if you want.
Either
Set
way.
in North Carolina, A Walk to Remember follows the rite of passage of a jaded, aimless high school senior, Shane West, who falls in love with a guileless young woman, Mandy Moore, he and his friends once scorned. The two develop a powerful and inspirational relationship in which they discover truths that take most people a lifetime to learn. Wow, powerful.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Powerful
But yeah,
stuff.
it's one of those like older ROMs that I kind of grew up with, or
Is
like
that a
when we
Nicholas
were in high
Sparks
school.
joint?
It is story by Nicholas Sparks.
I feel like that's one of the
Screenplay by
early
Nicholas
ones.
Sparks.
That was like before Notebook or something.
Yeah. But yeah, cute movie. I did actually watch Real Steel.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Even though
How is it on
even
the
though I
rewatch?
own it, I was just like, I was like, oh, I want to put this on. I love this movie. I think it's great. It's cute. It's fun. It's sci-fi. It's in the future. There's a cute backstory to it.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Hugh
I
Jackman,
think
the Jackman.
right, yeah. And I think it's exactly like one of those movies, like what Nathaniel was talking about, family's around, you're looking for a cute, fun movie, it's great. So
Awesome.
what else? Oh, I threw on the Joker, just kind of while I was cleaning up the apartment.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's not
How
really
is
a
that?
movie
I
I
haven't
would throw
rewatched
on
that.
while cleaning the
Yeah.
apartment, but okay.
It's just,
I
you know,
haven't
it was
watched
a nice cold day, and that's just, you know, how I felt.
That's a
All
very gloomy, rainy day outside.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the movie you got to
100%.
put on, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
How far did you get in
I
that?
just put on more lighthearted stuff when I'll put on YouTube or something when I'm cleaning the apartment. Not the most depressing movie I've ever seen.
I think I'm pretty sure I finished it. I had to have finished it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. Gemini Man, because I've never seen it and I was
How was
bored as
that?
shit. It wasn't that great.
I figured.
We can move on.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need to elaborate on that.
And
I
then
know, I've heard stories of how bad that is.
when Netflix first started kind of coming out with their own series, there was a series called Chef's Table, and it's exquisite. It goes through. You gotta love food and like film and all these other things because it's about food. But it just every episode is a different episode about a different chef from around the world, and they're like, some are like these world-renowned chefs, and some are like these guys that just like cook in their backyard, but like they're famous because it got to, you know, like the president or some shit like that. But it's just a story about like their life, but it's shot in just such a great way and so creatively and so artsy, where the food is basically like a moving photograph. And most of these chefs have like a pretty good backstory. So it just kind of goes through their life and how they've developed into this great food. And they just came out with a barbecue one. So it's like all these pit masters and stuff like that, and these guys that we've never even heard of. And it's really fascinating. If you like food, you like documentaries, definitely go watch any of the Chef Table. The barbecue one's the newest one. But that was my last thing.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. I like when people go into the backgrounds of people that are at the top of their craft or something like that. Like what got you into cooking per se, or barbecue or stuff like that.
Yep.
And where'd you know, how'd you learn all that stuff. I love hearing from the top and hearing how they got there. It's always fascinating to me.
It's incredible.
Yeah. All right, Blake. It is September. I'm assuming you watched a lot of horror, or at least some horror.
Not a lot, man. I only got to one film this week.
right.
Pretty busy week, but I did
Sure.
get to an A24 movie that I've watched one time. Was maybe about a year and a half ago. I kind of wanted to revisit it, and it's called The Black Coat's Daughter.
The Black Coat's Daughter.
Yeah, so that's on Netflix. It's got Emma Roberts in there. She's obviously really familiar with horror. She's done a ton of the American Horror Story stuff. But it's pretty good, man. So it's a slow burn, right? Your typical A24. It's directed by an Osgood Perkins.
I feel like I know that name.
Thing funny enough,
I can check his IMDb, really quick for you.
He's on here for Legally Blonde. That's really fun.
Oh no.
And a Netflix joint called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which is actually something I've been meaning to get to. I heard that.
Yeah, I wanted to check that out too.
Yeah. So now that I see that he's done it, I can certainly kind of see he's got a good eye for those types of things. But yeah, The Black Coat's Daughter, it's pretty good, and not necessarily getting into spoilers, right? But the IMDb summary, right, is the two girls must battle mysterious evil force when they get left behind at their boarding school over winter break. So some things kind of go on, and one of the girls take a interesting path, right, to say the least, to kind of make some decisions and kind of get an end goal. So it has a lot of themes of loneliness and kind of some things of that nature. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, if you're not really into horror, I don't think you will like it at all. But I mean, I think if you are into your Hereditaries, your It Comes at Nights, your traditional A24 super slow burn, right up to the final climax, right? It's like, so that's what happened. You know, it's one of those movies. I think you'll get something out of it.
For sure. All right, when comparing how slow of a burn it is, would you how would you compare it to The Witch? Because
I think The Witch is probably the slowest burn horror movie I've ever seen.
I was gonna say, yeah.
If you could sit through The Witch, you could probably sit through this. Don't get me
Sure.
wrong. I think The Witch is a better film, though, for sure.
Okay. You'd recommend The Witch over this?
Yeah, and they're both short though, because The Witch is only probably 90 minutes. This is probably
The Witch isn't terribly long, although it feels pretty long.
Yeah.
This is coming at an hour 33.
Right. So that's like your stereotypical horror time, right? A 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just feels slow. It's paced slow, but it's good. Like I said, once you get to the end, it's one of those. Oh, okay, I finally see why she acts this way.
Gotcha.
But that's kind of all I saw, man. And then I obviously watched Insidious. So
yeah, we'll get to that.
Eager to get to that.
Yeah.
What about you, bro?
I had an interesting week. Pretty busy, but actually did watch a decent amount of stuff. Where should I start? I finished. Did I tell you guys I finished The Social Dilemma, or did I tell you guys I watched
You
2/3?
told us you started it.
Yes, I don't know if I told you guys I finished it. I don't remember how many episodes ago that was, but I finished the documentary, The Social Dilemma, which is a Netflix original documentary covering how social media is affecting our society, our lives, our personal lives, and all that stuff. A topic, like I said before, it's not like a new topic. I feel like in the last 2 or 3 years, that's been becoming more and more talked about, is how technology and social media especially has been affecting us. But again, it covers a lot of newer information, more updated information than I've been exposed to, and it does it in a really pretty good way. And it's very informational, and I like all of the experts they got. They got some really high up people in Silicon Valley, and so I would recommend it. Like I said before, the last time I talked about it, there is some weird scripted scenes in there to dramatize the dangers that they're talking about. That stuff I didn't particularly like, but there's some good stuff in there. I would say it's worth a watch. It's about an hour 27 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a doc, of course.
Yeah, I actually listened to a pretty good music podcast for the most part. They talk about a lot of hip hop and urban things, but nonetheless, a gentleman on there was talking about The Social Dilemma, and he was like, "Yeah, super dope." So yeah, I definitely that you and him co-signing it. I think I might have to sit down and try to watch it.
I would recommend it. I just think it gives you information in a way that's not overwhelming and not hard to grasp. And as much as I didn't like the dramatic aspects or the acted out portions, they do help illustrate the points they're trying to do a little bit,
for sure,
or the points they're trying to make. Even though I think those parts are a little more dramatic than they need to be, or
for sure,
to the point where it's a little unrealistic. But I think it's information everybody needs to hear. In 2020, I think it's important that people are aware of what's going on. What's next? I started but did not finish. I've watched about 2/3 of the Steve Jobs movie, the one with Fassbender, not the one with Ashton Kutcher. Because they're split up into 3 different sections. I basically watched 2 out of the 3 overarching scenes. I'm liking it so far. Not the most amazing movie ever, not the best performances ever, although Fassbender's pretty good. It's an overall solid movie. I feel like it got a decent amount of hype when it came out, but watching it back now, I mean it's okay. It's just it's not amazing. So
did you watch anything for your psychology course?
I was gonna save that for the last one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I got
I've
not
one seen the Steve Jobs movie.
You haven't?
So,
okay. I was wondering if you had any commentary on it.
No, I haven't seen it.
I don't know how much you'd like it. There are some weird things that the movie does, but I'm gonna finish it. And, it's
Danny Boyle, isn't it?
For a director?
Yeah.
That I don't know. Let me see.
I feel like it is.
2015. Yeah, Danny Boyle.
Okay.
It does some weird stuff where it draws these scenes out of the at least it feels like it draws these scenes out of the giant Steve Jobs biography that came out after he passed in like 2012-ish, around that time. I've read most of that, and so I had a lot of the background I needed to go into this movie, but I was watching with someone who hadn't read that, and they were pretty confused about what was going on.
Gotcha.
So that's just kind of something I noted, and other weird things. I don't know. It just didn't. It felt a little off, but for reasons I will probably get to maybe after I finish it and have a more succinct opinion on it.
Sure.
And then I also this last week started rewatching The Last Dance, which I've touted on the pod before. It's my favorite documentary series of all time, documentary or movie, whatever, or series or movie. Like I think, say what you want about The Last Dance and how well it portrayed Jordan to how he was perceived by a lot of people, but I think just the storytelling alone, the way they shoot it, the way they edit it together, the music, the interviews they get, how they tie those interviews together, just everything structurally about The Last Dance is just remarkable. And it's just the way they engage you with the story. It feels like fiction. It's to a certain extent. It feels like the way they tie these storylines together and stuff like that. It just feels like, how is this like real? And I'm sure I wasn't alive at the time. I remember a little bit when I was younger. There's still being some hype around Jordan because it was like 98 is when the team disbanded.
Mm.
So when I was younger, I kind of remember a little bit about it because it was still pretty recent. But like, this was just, they make sports feel like so much more than it probably really was, but they do such a good job of doing that. I don't know. I really love that documentary. You guys have all seen it, right?
Which doc is that again?
Last Dance.
Dance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, man.
Yeah.
That's something I set, and I watched that like with my parents. Like my mom
Mhm.
wanted to watch that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that was also at peak COVID where there was literally nothing
Yeah,
else.
that's true too. It came out at a great time, but
Yeah, right.
for viewership wise, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Blake stepped away, but Blake, I have been rewatching it this week. That's what we were talking about it.
Did you finish that?
I'm on episode 5, I think, of 10.
Okay.
So I'm about halfway
Was there
through.
10 episodes of that?
There was.
Is that when
yeah.
they bring in like Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, I just finished the Dennis Rodman episode. I think that was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I love how they set it up. I love it can be a little confusing. I remember on my first watch it being a little hard to follow the storylines because it's sometimes not entirely clear when they're switching back between the 97-98 season that the whole overarching series covers and then the flashback seasons and stuff like that. It's a little hard to tell, but at the same time I really like that storytelling of how you see different players in the 97-98 season, and then they'll go back and they'll explain to you and which season they came a part of the Bulls team, and then who they are, where they came from, how they played in the team, their team relationship, and then also how they played in with Michael, how they improved his game, how the relationship they had with Michael, like just the storytelling and how they weave this all together. It's just incredible. It really, really is. So regardless of how accurate the documentary is, which I will say, I think Jordan had say over everything that went into this, and they, it's confirmed how much say he had. He had a complete oversight. The only thing they don't really talk about is his family, but they address his gambling problem. They address how rude he was sometimes to teammates, and they kind of have him explain that and justify it. But like, regardless of if you want to say how accurate that was, because there have been some people coming out, even people that were interviewed in the doc, saying that it wasn't as cut and dry, or he wasn't the hero that the doc portrayed him as. It's still a feat of how well it's edited, how well they tie this old footage together with interviews and all that stuff. It's really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, then even on the personal side of Michael Jordan, I mean, and you're saying he had a ton of say over, and that's absolutely because that guy is a psychopath, right? You can see watching the documentary, and I'm sure that's even they're taking a lot of stuff out, right? And I think the only way you can, to be honest with you, I think the only way you can end up excelling that much at anything athletic, you have to be a psychopath.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point in the documentary where there's some player, I forgot his name. He's a forgettable name, and they even say that in the documentary, how like unbelievable it is. But he had a really good game against Jordan, scored 40 at whatever points in a game, and they won the game. It was like a really underdog win for them. And they say in the doc that the player, whoever it was, I forgot his name, but it was as he was leaving the court, he said like, "Good game, Jordan," or something like that. And Jordan didn't have a great game. He only scored like 30 points or less than 30 points or something like that. And it pissed him off. And the next night he came back and scored the amount of points that player had scored in like the first half.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, that guy is.
But it turns out that that player never said "good game" to Jordan. He said it he made it up in his head that he said that just to piss himself off, and then come back the next day. Yeah, it's like shit like that. It's just like crazy.
He's different, dude. That's the epitome of your being the best you can be every single day. That is the epitome of that.
I don't know anyone that's done that. Excelled so much at one task so well. And this is a movie podcast, and I don't want to get into the debate of who's the greatest of all time. But
For sure.
I don't know how you can argue it's not Jordan after watching a documentary like this.
For sure.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe in another 20 years we'll see a LeBron documentary. I'm almost positive we will.
Sure we will. Yeah.
I'm sure we will. And maybe I'll change my mind then. But until then, Jordan's got my pick.
Yep. And then I'm sure the LeBron doc will be just as interesting where it's a
Yeah,
time
let's
like this
hope.
where everybody will sit on the couch every Sunday or whatever it is on ESPN in 25 years from now and watch LeBron's story.
Yeah. Because he's got one too. I can't wait for that
one.
And
Derrick Rose's will be just a 3 episode.
Yeah, but it'll end in like the middle of episode 2. They'll just cut it off and the rest is just like, his recovery or something in the hospital.
Well,
unfortunate. And then Nathaniel, the movie I watched for my psych class, Psychology at the Movies.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
That's a dope class, dude. I wish I had something like that.
It is. I'm having a good time in the class. We watched Silence of the Lambs. Which is actually, it was my first time watching it. I've seen bits and pieces of it because I remember one time my brother watched it with his friends and I was in the back and I kind of watched a little bit of it, but didn't really know what to expect going into this at all, even though I've seen bits and pieces. I really, really liked it. Anthony Hopkins, is that like his most famous role? Okay,
for sure,
probably.
Almost 100% nowadays.
Yeah. I when I saw him, I was like, that makes so much sense on why everybody loves and knows Anthony Hopkins because I didn't. I mean, I knew who he was. I liked everything he's been in, but I didn't know he had this kind of role as a tent pole for his career. For sure. I didn't know this was that. And
he commands the screen anytime he's on.
100%. And Jodie Foster is good, and they have a good dynamic, but he just steals the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, and I mean, he's that bit where he's in the cage that's in the room that's separated from everything else, and then he still manages to get out of it somehow. Yeah. And they come in and he's splayed and butterflied that guy up against the side, and it's great. Yeah, it's a great movie.
He only blinks. I looked this up because as I was watching, I was like, I gotta know the answer to this. He only blinks 15 times the entire movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff in terms of how far he went in terms of making that character and making that he totally tricks you. I mean, you forget he eats people, and then you just think like you want him to like you. He's the kind of guy you want to like you. Yeah, you want him to like you. You want to be like him, and then he just also eats people. It's great.
Yeah, the movie does a lot of really cool stuff because I do have to review it or analyze it in a psychological perspective. And so some of the questions that we were talking about after we watched it or that I had to reflect on is like what the violence does for the movie. Because it's kind of a horror, but kind of more of a thriller. But a lot of the violence and gore happens off screen. You don't really see a lot of Lecter actually killing people. You don't see the main person they're trying to catch. You don't see a lot of that. You'll see the results of it. But what that does is it leaves it up to the imagination to what are you doing? Another visual.
That was my dance. My what is his name? Something Bill, isn't it? Buffalo Bill.
Oh, your Buffalo Bill dance. Oh, that is a kind of.
Do you think I'm sexy?
Yeah. But the violence being off screen, it really leaves it up to your imagination to see because you know where Lecter started when he killed this person. You see where he ended, and up to you in the middle is kind of up to your imagination what happened, and it's not necessarily scarier, but it's almost more psychologically kind of makes you play with it a little bit. Yeah, unsettling. Exactly. That's the road. In my review of the movie, I kept writing that word, unsettling. The movie just aims to unsettle you, not necessarily horrify you in any way. And I also thought it was.
There's a coldness in that film. Everyone's emotions are all over the place in that movie because she's this kind of young FBI agent who's just coming up. They purposefully kind of like shoot her as though she's this just bland creature who's young and naive. It just big eyes open to the world, and then and you kind of have these kind of the Scott Glenn character and the Hannibal Lecter character who are both either one can be her her stake, her guiding light in the film, and it's kind of that plays with the tension of which way is she going to go with it. Again, the movie's not really about Hannibal Lecter. He's just brought in to consult while they try and find this other serial killer. But again, kind of like what we were talking about before. It is this very strange, very non-Western way of telling a story, which is really
I haven't seen all of Kubrick's stuff, but it's very Kubrick from the stuff that I have seen.
I forget who
he does the Full Metal Jacket is a very atypical war movie, I would say.
Did you guys watch Full Metal Jacket recently?
Yes.
I've seen it.
I didn't know you mean recently, but yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's an incredible movie. But yeah, I would say there's some Kubrick in there. That's Jonathan Demme, who has unfortunately since passed, but he does a great job.
Yeah,
well. He was a really, really good director. But,
I don't know what it was, but it just did remind me of a bit of Kubrick.
I would say, there's a lot of Kubrick has a lot of establishing shots. He's very kind of mechanical with his camera, how it moves throughout the scenes and everything like that. I can get Kubrick out of that, definitely.
Yeah, very, very good movie though. It is on Netflix. If anybody hasn't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. All right, yeah, but that's all I have for what we're watching. Are we ready, guys, for the main review of Insidious?
Let's get in.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, Nathaniel, give the viewers or listeners a rundown of our review segment if they've not tuned in before.
Sure. Hello, listeners. Listen to me talk for a few seconds here. So the way it works when we are doing our reviews, basically, is we're gonna give you, first of all, show notes and tell you when we're talking spoilers and when we're not. So there will be a clear spoiler point in this, so don't worry about that, and we'll mark it down when you can come back if you want to go and watch this in the meantime. But what we do initially is kind of give you the IMDb plot summary and give a little bit of background on the movie itself, when it came out, who directed it, who's in it, that kind of thing. We'll go over the story, the summary of it a little bit. No spoilers, obviously, at this point. Then we'll give our first reactions and recommendations, whether we like the movie or not. And then at some point, we will decide, do we recommend this movie or do we not? It has to be yes or no, binary choice, because there's no nuance on the internet.
Of course.
After that will be full spoilers. We'll go over kind of the rest of the movie, any big kind of plot points or anything like that we should bring about. And then we'll give kind of, again, a little bit more of our thoughts on the movie, go a little bit deeper, dig a little bit more into it. And then we'll welcome back all those listeners that maybe wanted to stay away or hadn't seen the movie yet. We'll rank it on the Entropy list, which is our big list of where all the movies we've seen go, and we'll get on out of here.
All right. So without further ado, why don't you give us our little IMDb summary here?
So I'm pulling it up right now as we see. This is,
of course.
It's real short. Literally a sentence.
Is it? Yeah, that's usually how they are.
So this movie came out in 2010. It is directed by James Wan. It is written by Lee Winnell. If you are a big horror fan, you've undoubtedly heard of those guys before. They are almost single-handedly responsible for a lot of horror movies that have come out in kind of early thousands to where we are today. I'm talking things like Saw, The Conjuring, Insidious, all of these stuff. And these guys, so they're pretty famous for horror heads, I would say. One of the people that they work with most often, who is in this movie, is Patrick Wilson. He shows up a lot in their kind of stuff. But also kind of rounding out the cast is Rose Byrne, and then the main kid in this is Ty Simpkins. He's gone on to do some other stuff. He's in Iron Man 3, I want to say. He's Iron Man 3.
Okay.
That is that kid.
Yeah,
Dude.
he's also
Every time I watch this movie too, I'm like, he looks so familiar, and I can never put it on until you just said that's the kid in Iron Man 3. I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Yep. And then he does actually show up again in Avengers Endgame.
And Jurassic World.
He's in Jurassic World too. Yep.
Yeah.
Which guy is he in Jurassic World? Before we get super off topic?
He's the younger brother.
I can see that. Okay, I can see that.
So yeah, he's in Jurassic World. It's like the main two kids, and there's an older brother and a younger brother. He's the younger one.
Oh, that guy's been.
But yeah, so the IMDb plot summary goes like this. A family looks to prevent evil spirits from trapping their comatose child in a realm called the Further, which is one way to summarize this movie, but
Sure.
is in other ways is not at all. But yeah,
Do you want to
it's
give a little
basically
bit more of a non-spoiler summary than that?
I'll do a little bit more. But so a family moves into a new house as these things often start, and they quickly find one of their sons, who's played by Ty Simpkins, goes upstairs into the attic, encounters something, and after that is basically bedridden and comatose. They cannot figure out what's going on with him. They've taken him to all the tests, and they don't really know what's going on. After he has encountered this thing and gone silent on them, there starts to be these kind of series of hauntings that happen around the house, and spooky shit starts to kick off in some ways. So I think I'll probably leave it at that until we get into the spoilers section.
Yeah, that's accurate.
There isn't a huge twist, I would say, in this movie, but there's definitely some spoiler parts and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So we'll save that for a little bit later. But yeah, that's mostly it. What are your guys' thoughts?
I can
Don't
start
everyone
off
start
since
at
this is my first
Yeah,
watch.
let's-
This
let's-
is
let's
this is
let
not
Adam
everybody
work it.
else's first watch. Ty, you've seen this before?
I have.
Okay. To me, this I liked it. It was to me very cookie cutter, very generic. If someone came up to me and asked what's a horror movie, I would show them this movie. It's it's very horror movie. It falls in. It has all these tropes that every horror movie has. It's just a standard, solid.
Well, does it
horror
though?
movie.
Does it though? Because I think
Well,
I
okay.
think this movie actually does a lot to answer a lot of horror tropes that people kind of
Yeah.
bring up a lot.
We can
And
dig
I
into
think
that.
Maybe that's not the right term to use or something like.
I think
But-
it's just a really good example of what ghost story horror was in 2010
Should be.
too.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Oh,
what
yeah.
can be in that kind of thing.
So maybe trope isn't as much the word to use, but more of a horror stereotype, something you can expect to see multiple.
Yeah, horror staples, I guess.
Yeah, staple, sure. Just very
think
standard horror movie.
Well, see, what sets it apart for me is I think it does play with those tropes, and it
Yeah.
has something more to say, I would say, than just the normal run of the mill horror.
Yeah.
But I think you've seen The Conjuring, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes.
See, and I think this
Skews that for sure.
yeah, I think it does. I think if you got to this one first, The Conjuring is a very logical next step. But since you've
Okay.
seen The Conjuring force and coming back to that,
Sure,
you kind of
yeah.
you
Mhm.
notice a lot of things. Because one, when he is making this style of movie, does have a lot of things that I think he plays with a lot and carries through his films. It's almost his own style of horror film. But I think having seen Conjuring first, that may have colored it a little bit, but nonetheless,
Could have for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I have some
Your
other stuff
opinion is
that
valid.
I'll okay. I have some other stuff I'll get into in the spoiler talk that is not super spoily, but I'll get more in depth on later.
enough.
But overall, I liked it. Pretty solid. I was scared most of the
were
time.
you scared?
Few
Yeah.
jump scares. Few jump scares got me. I'll let you guys know
That
which
one
ones,
jump
but,
scare is a super classic.
Yeah. There's
which one?
one that's very famous.
Are you
in this
talking about the
movie.
window where he's pacing?
No, but that's a good one
Not
too.
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on. There's no way this jump scare went over your head, man.
It probably didn't. There was
Patrick
probably
Wilson's
just more.
talking.
You're
He's talking
just-
to his
there are a
mom.
few. So,
Yeah, just
You're gonna have to
yeah,
do
my
table.
biggest right
yeah,
now.
let's go around.
yeah. Someone else go.
I'm giving an example of it.
Uh,
Go ahead, Blake.
yeah. I like it. What can I say? This is one of those. I saw this in high school, like with my friends. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is a new scary movie, and it's PG-13. Like, we can actually get into this, right, without having to lie and get somebody else to take us. So it worked. You know what I mean? Do I think it's James Wan's best horror movie? No, I wouldn't say that. I would put a few ones above it. But I do like it for a ghost story that's rated PG-13. This is phenomenal. And I can't stress how phenomenal that is, because there are a lot of very, very, very bad ghost stories that are rated PG-13.
Yeah, that's a great point.
For me, this was kind of my reintroduction back into horror after, like, I've kind of talked a lot on the pod, like being a kid, and I came from a very similar position as Adam, is that I was absolutely terrified, could not take horror movies for the longest time. And then once I kind of got to high school, it kind of figured itself out a little bit more. I started to kind of see it in a different way, and you know, you grow up, basically. But this was kind of the first one that I can remember my 5 buddies going at like age 17 and going home and going out and seeing this movie at like 10 o'clock at night.
For sure.
And leaving the theater and being like, oh my God, how am I going to drive home by myself, go into a dark house by myself, get into bed and is supposed to sleep the next day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so this will always hold kind of a little bit of a special place in my heart, I think. But that being said, for exactly what you're saying too, Blake, I think at the time we were coming out of this just extended 4 to 5 periods, 4 to 5 year period where American horror was just horrible. So bad.
Yeah.
It just was not that, you know, they were not saying anything new. It was all just remakes of J-horror, of Japanese horror movies, or you had guys, that was kind of when Del Toro was getting started a little bit, doing some other stuff. You know, guys in other countries were doing a little bit of other stuff, but and you know, both Juan and Winell are Australian, so you do have these crossover movies that I think we just kind of ran out of steam in the early thousands and had to have these new influences brought in, and this was the first example of that, I think, where it took in kind of answering to what Aish was saying earlier.
We lost him.
Lost him. He's at a good point too.
Yeah.
Carry on what he's saying. It takes a lot of that stuff and it makes it modern and fresh. What you did not come across in the mid 2000s, dude. Like what episode was it? Maybe 2 episodes ago where Nathaniel was on IMDb reading like the shittiest sequels, and all of them were like those Japanese American adaptations. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's where horror came from before this movie. And so it was like, holy shit, this is fresh, it's new, and it's good. But yeah, go ahead, Nathaniel. I don't want to cut you off.
I'm back now. No, exactly what you were saying. Basically, it's and it took all of those tropes and either made comments on them or inverted them, subverted them, flipped them on their head, kind of really took it and was unique. It's not a known story, you know, it's not taken from the cases of the Warren files or, you know, based on the murders of blah blah blah. It's its own story. It has its own lore, particularly when you see the second one, which ties into the first one. So I think as its own property and a unique property, I think it's kind of cool that it's out there and still has this status among, you know, horror heads like Blake and I and that kind of thing too. So that's and I can see where you're coming from, Adam, 100%. Like I can see. I think I don't want to say it's dated poorly, but it has dated.
Yeah.
Like it was in the zeitgeist and was scary for and very effective, I think, for a couple of years. But particularly on the rewatch, I think I felt like it has dated a little bit. So I can see where you're coming from.
I could feel that a little bit. You're right. It's not huge. It's not a big thing. I mean, it's only 10 years old, but you're right. I did feel that aging a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's okay, because I do think a lot of what we consider good horror now and what has come from this is kind of stuff is you can see roots back to this in some way. And I think a little bit, you know, if we kind of tie it succinctly as well, this is, and I think this is also a little bit what you were saying too, Aish, like this is a great example of where horror was 10 years ago and where horror is now is just completely different. And I think that is also what makes it feels a little bit dated as well.
Yeah, that could be too, for sure. It's wild what 10 years can do to horror.
Ty, your thoughts? Yeah, nothing dates as bad as horror and comedy.
Yeah, facts. Ty, go ahead.
I've always liked these movies. When I first saw this movie, it was in theaters. Kind of like what Blake said, you're young. It's PG-13, so it's like one of the first films that you go see with like just your friends and not have a parent. but yeah, it was really fun when I saw it. It's one of those things that I think is kind of a staple in horror, like what Nathaniel was saying as well. That it's I don't think we have horror movies like we have today if we didn't have this 10 years ago. And I think it just did a really great job. And there's some weird things that this plays with, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But yeah, I like the whole. I think this is kind of my biggest part of my wheelhouse as far as horror goes, other than sci-fi horror, is like the ghosts and demon stuff. The slashers and stuff are still really good, but just
Right.
not as
these types of
thrilling or
movies
scary
scare
for
me.
me.
Yeah, these types of movies scare me the most.
Yeah, I would say like the slasher movies and like the more campy stuff is very it's more tenseful for me. Whereas this is like I am actually a little scared right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely highly recommend from me. I like I said, I think these are probably my favorites before you get like The Conjuring, the Annabelles, and all the other stuff that we have now. But yeah, I'm all in.
Mhm.
Sure. All right, are we ready to get into the spoilers then? Oh, actually, no. We should do our recommendations. Let's go around. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Quick 1 to 0 overall. Would I recommend it? Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's pretty solid. I liked it. I would recommend it. It's like we said before, only 90 minutes. It's on Netflix. You have access. So if you're looking for something to watch in the next month or so as it gets spooky season, I would say recommend. Blake?
Yeah, man, this is a no-brainer, let alone when it's October and you're going through like your horror binge. I think this is one that you should certainly touch.
Ty?
Yeah, big ol'.
Oh, Nathaniel? You go ahead, Nathaniel.
Big ol' recommend from me. I just like what Blake said. I think if you are starting into horror, this is a great one to start with. If you're wanting to see kind of where horror was 10 years ago, kind of like we've been talking about, this is a great one to go with. If you're just doing a James Wan retrospective, this is a great one to go with. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Big recommend from me.
Gotcha. And Ty?
Yes, indeed. Let It Rip, Tater Chip. This is definitely a recommend.
All right. And we're gonna get into spoilers for those
Let's
of you
do
who
it.
would not like this movie spoiled. Go ahead and check the description where I will have the timestamp for the non-spoiler part after we talk about spoilers. We're gonna jump to our entropy list. We're gonna put it on our ranking. And yeah, Nathaniel, why don't you go ahead and give the listeners?
So the family is pretty quickly haunted by these horrifying figures that are seen throughout the film. That's one thing I think this film has great is the ghosts are very
Yeah.
creepy. Like just physically to look at, they are creepy.
You don't want to
presence.
look at them.
Yeah. They're frightening just in general from appearance only. But they move houses. They have decided they do the thing that everyone always says that they should do, and this is what I was kind of talking about earlier. Is that they actually move, and unfortunately, they figure out that what's not haunted is not the house; it's actually Dalton, who's the kid that has slipped into the coma,
Which I like a lot. I like that.
Yeah, and so upon moving to the new house and seeing that these hauntings have continued, they sort of reach out to Patrick Wilson's character's mother, who reveals that Patrick Wilson's character also went through something similar as a child, and they bring in Lynn Shay's character, whose name I think is Elise in this movie. She's got 2 sidekicks. Yeah, one of whom is Lee Winnell. He's Specs. But they kind of come in and they put the whammy on him and say, not only are they being haunted, but what's really happening is Dalton has figured out how to astral project himself onto a different plane. And while on that plane, a demon has taken over or taken control of his astral body and is using him as a kind of a conduit for all these horrifying ghosts and demons and creatures coming through and taking and trying to get through his body into the real world again, basically. And the reason that we know this is because Patrick Wilson, as a child, could also do this,
Right.
but with the help of Lin Shaye's character, they kind of locked that ability off from him. So he makes the choice to go into what this other astral plane, which is called the Further. Terrible name, but evocative nonetheless. So he then goes into the Further to try and find the character of Dalton and bring him back and return him safely. And the kind of final twist on all the whole thing is that this figure of this old woman in a black mourning dress who's been following Patrick Wilson's character since he was a kid, takes over his body, and he then is possessed by her. He kills Lin Shaye's character, and that's kind of more or less where the movie ends until you kind of move on to the sequel. But yeah.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
No.
All right. This came out before Stranger Things, but you read that plot and there's a lot of similarity to Stranger Things.
Yeah, I mean,
Upside down, the Further,
I can see
the dad going into the Further, Hopkins going into the Upside Down. Even the concept of astral projection, like the projection where 11 can project herself anywhere on Earth, basically, in some kind of like other. Using the underground or the Upside Down. There are just some weird similarities. Not saying that there are enough differences that Stranger Things is not like a direct ripoff, but I did get some Stranger Things vibes.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, that makes sense too. I think Juan's way more into horror than the Duffer Brothers,
of course,
for sure. But like, yeah, it's an interesting.
But still, it goes back to that point. Like, we might not have stuff like Stranger Things if stuff like this doesn't happen.
For sure. And I think Stranger Things also taps into that kind of 70s, 80s horror, which is just very different from this, I think, too. And that's kind of what we've been talking about a little bit. I feel like this is so emblematic of that 2010s period that I think it does. It's just different. There's a lot more jump scares, which we've kind of talked about. So we could talk a little bit, I guess, about what some of the things that that they do in this film that I think are kind of unique. They get jump scares right finally. I feel like there's a great mix of fake outs and actual jump scares, and the jump scares that they do use are not just empty. They have purpose to them. They propel the story along, I think, in some ways, even when you don't necessarily think like they're going to, like the figure in the by the windows or something like that. Or when she like turns the corner and he's like standing over the baby's crib and anything, I think, and you're kind of like, oh my god, what are these, like what's happening here? Or like the little boys and stuff, all these ghosts eventually tie together, and you kind of understand a little bit more kind of the CGI has not dated well. The thing where he's walking, where the main demon's crawling down the wall,
that looks terrible.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But I mean, that's 20s horror, or 2010
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's also 2010 CGI.
So Aish, what do you think of the actual demon character itself? Because I remember up until you get into his workshop or whatever, he's terrifying to me.
Yes.
And then
it becomes a little bit silly to me.
It's so campy, yeah, which I think some people still find scary, but that's just one of those things that we're just, wherever you are on that scale, anything past that, you're just like, well, this is silly. But horror is so often close to comedy, that I think that those lines can get crossed a little bit, because there's a lot of slapstick comedy that's very, very violent. And then there's a lot of horror that's very, very violent that ends up being funny if you go too far on the other scale. So that's kind of one of those things I think is just kind of a sliding scale of where anyone is at on that.
Yeah, the way the movie built the mythos around the demon character and just kind of what he was, what he looked like, and you kind of get small glimpses and you get the drawings and stuff like that. I was prepared for something much scarier, much darker, much more ominous, and it ended up just kind of being this silly demon with a red face that didn't look great.
Right, with like goat legs.
Yeah, with weird like goat leg kind of person. Got a weird tail. was kind of weird when he showed up like that. And I wasn't as scared of him at that point, and because I wasn't, I didn't have as much tension or wasn't as scared for the rest of that sequence where he's escaping the further.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, well, he's the main threat here, but he's kind of
I remember that.
Kinda,
I remember seeing that in the theaters and that being a kind of a big release, but being so happy that because the rest of that film is so intense up until that point that kind of I was like locked in. I was like, okay, well I'm cool with whatever happens from now on. And I think in some ways that and that's sometimes I think why I recommend it for people that are entering into horror a little bit, and maybe also why in some ways today it doesn't stack up as much, because I feel like horror has definitely become a little bit more nihilistic, particularly when you look at the Hereditaries and the Midsummers and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
this still is almost kind of that poltergeist ending where there's everything's okay. Everything's okay. Even though Patrick Wilson's a demon monster guy, but the main problem of the story has a resolution,
gets solved, and then they kind of cliffhanger it for a sequel, which is fine.
Yeah, definitely. So I can see where you're coming from on that too, but I also think it's just really smart. I feel like it's a smart movie. Yeah. It's smart. It's well written. I've talked a lot. Someone else talked.
It is. No, I mean I'm with you on that, and I don't know if I'm sure Nathaniel and Tyler have seen the second one, but have you seen the second one, Adam?
I have not. No.
See, I think the second one makes the first one even better. So when you, and not really to get into spoilers, right? But you start to understand a lot more about the further, like you said, because you get to see the father's turn of his haunting and his backstory of why the lady in the black dress, right, the black bride, is haunting him. So I think this is one of those.
The second one takes place immediately after the first one, and what I love about the second one is that and what I love about the second one is that how they still use the Lin Shaye character, and even though she's dead. But yeah, it's really I agree. I would watch the second one.
Yeah, I think you owe it to yourself to watch the second one to get a better understanding of the full plot, right, of the whole movie.
Yeah.
But I like the first one for what it is. I mean, so I'm a huge horror guy, and I kind of judge horror by, are there any scenes that kind of make your hair stand up a little bit, right, or make you really uneasy?
For sure.
And even this being a PG-13, and I've seen this movie countless of times, there's still two scenes that gets me, and that's going to be the ending twist where she takes the picture and he turns out to be possessed by the black bride. That still gets to me a little bit, as well as the original scene, or not the original scene, the first scene where Elise is explaining to how she goes into Dalton's room after they see the red handprint, and then the guy's just standing in the corner pointing at the corner. Yeah, those are the two scenes that, like, okay, that's creepy. You know what I mean?
I see, and I still get the bit where he walks into the house in the further, and there's the family sitting around on the
couch.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, and then the daughter shoots him.
The old dad whistling and everything, and like none of their mouths are moving, but there's dialogue and like
just have smiles. They're not blinking.
Yeah, and then they do that up. They do that quick cut between the two of them. I think that's such a great little effective scene. The baby monitor stuff's great.
Absolutely.
Oh, the voice is coming over it. It's so good.
Yeah, I think they have more of that in the second one as well. The baby monitor stuff.
Probably, yeah, I think so. I've only seen the second one once, but I remember just really enjoying it.
It's really good, man. Yeah, I would say, like I said, I mean, I hate repeating myself. You certainly owe it to yourself to watch the second one, Adam. If you enjoy the first one, I think you'll watch the second one and you'll be like, okay, I like the first one even more.
Okay, 100%. I think you've convinced me. I'll try to give this a watch. It's looking like I'm gonna have to rent it somewhere, but I'll do that. I don't care. Ty, do you want to go, or should I?
No, I can go. It's gonna be a lot of what these guys have said already, but there's a lot of good points where it makes it so real and it's realistic. Like in the beginning, where she's the one experiencing all this stuff, and he's just kind of condescendingly saying, like, I understand you and I get you, and like, as somebody who doesn't get it or who doesn't see it or it's not happening to you would kind of have that, like, are you going crazy kind of feel. And and so it keeps it really true to what it would probably be like at that time. You'd be like, no way, you're crazy, I don't believe you, but you would still move because it's your loved one and she's obviously freaked out about something. The Nathaniel and I talked about this. I don't know if you guys have already talked about this. The jigsaw head on the chalkboard, little
anyone
James
notice
Wong.
that?
Yep.
I did not.
Yeah, so
So
when he's sitting in class and all the students are gone, and he's just kind of sitting there leaning back in his chair, Jigsaw's face is drawn in chalk on the chalkboard behind him.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's kind of
funny thing about
I didn't notice that.
Jigsaw too. Not to cut you off real quick, but James Wan also did Dead Silence.
Yes.
And so that's one about dolls, and one
Underrated.
of the dolls happens to be Jigsaw as well in a
Jigsaw,
scene
yeah.
where they're like
He
in a
always puts
dollhouse.
Jigsaw on.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of his personal favorite movies. It seems
Yeah.
like he manages to throw it into every film he makes.
Which is great.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that
a little
was his
Easter
first
egg.
one. That's
Yeah.
his breakout. So I think he throws back to it every now and then and stuff.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, go ahead, Tyler. I mean to cut you off.
Jump scares were fantastic. It's one of those things that, like Nathaniel said pretty well, they finally get it right, and it does progress the story. I think one of the biggest ones for me is in the dining room in the new house, and the
That's the one we were talking about
mother,
earlier.
sees him. It moves the
That-
story
yeah, that
along.
was crazy.
She's clearly freaked out. So yeah,
well, that's building off the
and it-
point that Blake was talking about earlier with the pointing guy, right? It's
Yep.
that story. She's
Yep.
telling that
Because
story.
she's telling
and
the
then-
story. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then it ends,
Right.
That's
and
the
then that's
scene
when you see
following
him behind the dad.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's such a quick cut too, because it's cutting back and forth between what's her face?
Yeah,
What's her name?
it's
You
so
know.
great. It's mathematical.
Yeah, the
way
mom.
that
I
they
can't
set it
think.
up.
It's
Barbara
yeah,
Hershey.
mhm. Yeah.
Like how
It's
they-
cut
Right.
back and forth conversation, and then right at the end, just bam, there's another person in frame, and that was a good
probably
shot.
goes down. That's probably one of the best jump scares in probably modern horror history. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Do you think
one
that's
of the-
better or worse? Do you think that's better than the clapping in The Conjuring?
I don't know.
I would say
Fuck.
yes, because if I remember correctly, the clapping of The Conjuring was in the trailer.
In the
And
trailer,
that's what ruined it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, to be honest, the better jump scare in The Conjuring is when they're playing the hide and seek with the clapping, and then it comes from the closet, and she opens the closet, and it's not in there. Then it cuts to her sister
just
on
on
the
top
bed,
of it.
and then it's on top of the dresser. I think that's
I
I
do
think
remember
that's the
that.
best jump scare in The Conjuring. But I do think the
That's fair.
lipstick face one in Sinister is without a doubt better.
Yeah, that one's.
The little boy coming out of the armoire. She sees
Yes, that's great,
him dancing in the living room, which would
Yeah.
it's cool too because it finally introduces you to that song, and that's kind of the theme song of this movie. And they do it in such a natural way, and he's in black and white, and that would be
when she
something
when
that
she
he
walks,
would listen to. Keep going.
Yeah. No, when she it's such a natural scene too, and you see, I think she's like taking out the garbage or something.
She is.
She's taking out the garbage, and she
follow
goes
her
from
from
one window to
inside.
the next window.
Yes, and you see the boy inside
Yeah.
the house. Oh,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
she walks past the window pane, and then she can't see him again when she
Yep,
walks
and
past
then
the
she
window.
doesn't
So then
see
she's
him.
like,
Oh my god,
She's like,
That's a
"What the
great
fuck?"
shot. It was.
Yeah.
That was the shot I was gonna bring up, but
Yeah.
that one really, that one was a really good shot.
that one
Really
that
good
one
scene,
got me.
just in general. Just really good build up. How they switch the music on the record player, and and then you see the kid dancing, and then he's not there, and she
Yeah.
goes to look for him. And, oh god, yeah.
It's great. Like the music doesn't just cut in; it scratches. Like somebody almost had to like lift up the needle, flip the record,
sure.
and then put on a different song or a different song on the track. Like they just do it so well. Another one of the really great shots that I thought was pretty good in this. It's right before the gas mask scene, and it's
Which is great, by the way, too.
It's so good. It's
I'd forgotten
just
about that.
it's a sweeping kind of on a track. You can almost kind of tell it's on a track of the house, and it's just the front of the house, and it goes from right to left, and then it just kind of pans out, and you get the whole house in frame. But it sets it up so well because it's all this stuff that is happening in this house, and even though once they get into the further and everything like that, it feels like such a bigger movie. You can still tell that it's like it's shot really small. But it just puts so much emphasis on that, like this is just happening in this house, and it's so much bigger, and it's so great, and I love it, and it's probably one of my favorite shots of the movie.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, Adam.
I there's not a ton I can add. You guys really went off on this movie and noticed a lot more than I did, just because I'm so new to horror and stuff like that. But I'll add my pieces here and there. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said.
Before we go into this, I am curious. Did you watch this like middle of the day or like beginning of the day?
Yeah,
or
how
were
did you watch it? Did you like
Um,
headphones in the dark by yourself? Were there a bunch of dudes in the room?
I watched it with a friend in my room. But I
Okay.
will say I did watch it in 2 parts. We got interrupted about halfway through. We watched it. We resumed it the next night.
Oof.
So a bit unfortunate, yes. But we did pause it right. I think we paused it like right when they moved. So it was almost like halfway,
Okay,
and then it was
okay.
almost
Right.
kind of So we did watch it in
Not
2.
bad.
Yeah, not terrible. It wasn't like the middle of like. It wasn't the middle of
It
like
wasn't
the
like the
kid scene when
cast.
she's chasing him down, and then I had to stop it, you know,
Right.
and just completely lose attention. It wasn't anything like that, so that's good at least.
For sure.
But yeah, I liked it. I was scared for most part. The jump scare that got me pretty bad. I don't know why, but when that ghost is pacing outside the window, and she's like, who the fuck's there? And then it cuts and he's inside. I legitimately, I'm sitting on. I'll do a visual gag really quick. I'm sitting on that futon and jumped about 3 feet in the air. And oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. I don't know
That's
What
why.
one
scene
of the-
is that?
in the kids' room, right?
I think-
That's like early
She's
on.
either in the kids' room or she's sleeping in her room. It's about a third of the way through the movie,
She's-
and the
she's
guy in
in
the
her room.
yeah,
That's right. That's right. Yeah, she sees him walk outside,
She
and you're
sees
like,
him
"What is
pacing
happening?"
outside
Like,
the
is that a
window,
yeah? You're kind of like, "Is that a roof? Do they have a balcony?
and,
What's going
and she's
on?"
like, "Josh,
I don't know
like,
what's going on.
is that her husband?" Like, Josh. She keeps calling out, and then he's walking back and forth. He cuts out of the window, and then it cuts back
I do
him.
remember that.
It's a great shot.
Yeah,
It's a great shot.
He's kind
It
of like
scared
the
shits out of me.
underboss.
That's the guy with
I
the
love
slicked back hair, right? In the jacket,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the biker jacket.
jacket on,
Yeah. I got you. I know what you're
that
talking about.
Patrick Wilson like
The
fist palm
the
through
other
a door
scene
later in the movie.
with him is when she's playing the piano and his voice comes over the baby monitor, and then the baby just screams bloody murder,
Mhm.
and she finally goes up there.
And he's finally in the
And-
room.
Well, he's in
Uh-huh.
the room, but the baby's kind of veil over its bed just
Uh-huh.
kind of blends his face perfectly.
Yep.
But you
Right.
can tell he's in the room.
Right. He's no longer
then-
outside.
And then
Right.
it cuts away from her, and then it comes back, and then he's gone.
Mhm.
Which, if you progress further in the
somebody's
story,
inside the room.
makes you think like, can the baby also astro walk like the dad can? Did he pass that down again to the baby?
Mm.
And that's why that kind of spirit's after the baby and the baby only.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of really well things on this. I think the biggest thing that takes away from this movie is when they go into the workshop and it's the demon and they finally show him.
Yeah.
That has not aged well at all.
Yeah.
And then
He's,
it
like
goes to
sharpening his
CGI.
claws.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
interesting to me because Elise says like, hey, the further is spirits that are basically they don't want to move on, right? I can't think of what the correct term is. It's in a lot of movies. Like the
Yeah.
lighthouse is
Yep,
kind
they're
of
not
in
ready
the same
to
vein.
go
What is
yet.
it? It's like
Unfinished business.
I'm trying to blank on it. Tough. I'll get to it later. But nonetheless, she says, hey, like all these people were once human at one point, right? So I think when you see the monster sharpening his nails and stuff, and you kind of see the mask and stuff, that gives you a backstory on him and probably how long he's been in the further, right? Where some of the people look like
Sure,
they've been
yeah.
in the further for
He's been
maybe
kind of-
30 years, 20 years, right? He's probably been in there for a very long time, right? And that's why
He's
those
kind of
things are
corrupted.
value of him.
Sure.
Value up to him, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of what I got out of that. I think they were just kind of give him some retrospective, like, hey, he's been here for this long, and that's why he looks this far gone, opposed to just like a human
Sure.
form ghost, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
each
don't-
of the character designs, they all, the ghosts themselves, they kind of, they're tapped into something there that just like is.
There's
like, kind of
something so
universal
unsettling
fear
about just
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I kind of want to mention, not a huge thing. I don't know why, but I felt like I was watching a soap opera some of the time. Just the way it was shot, the filter, the filter on
filter,
it, the
yeah, the filter.
acting, the dialogue. I don't know what it was. There were some scenes and shots there. I was just like, this feels like I'm watching a soap opera, and it kind of took me out a little bit. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it specifically was. I think it was a lot of the filter, camera work, and just the dialogue and acting, the way it kind of combined
Did
together.
you feel that in both viewings?
More so in the first one. Once they move houses and things start ramping up a little bit more, it's less noticeable. But when a lot of the first half of the movie felt like that for me, and that's when I noticed it most.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know.
I
Like I
think
said, I
it's
don't know what it
actually
is. I'm
pretty
not
smart.
knocking. I'm not knocking James Wan for the directing of it and making it feel that way because it's not. It doesn't take too much out of the movie. It just took me out of it.
Yeah, I
And-
think
and
it's
to
a
go
bit
back to
more of
the-
like the emphasis on the fact that like things are happening during the day, like the record song or the record
Mhm.
scene that
Right.
happens during the day. And I think it's cool because it progresses. Is like it's actually you said it perfectly. You just didn't know you were saying it. In the beginning of the movie, you see more things not happening in the day, and it kind of takes you out of the horror stuff, and it's only happening at night. As the film progresses, things do happen during the day because things are getting more serious, and the body or the spirits are getting closer and closer to the family as the story progresses. So they don't care whether it's day or night, and I think it's actually pretty smart to let that be very heavy in the beginning of the film and kind of get more and more evident towards the end of the film.
Sure.
And the word I was looking for was purgatory. Is the word I was looking for. I couldn't get.
Got it.
Where it's that's basically what the further is to me.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I said, I think the lighthouse kind of ties into some of that stuff as well. But that's
Yeah, I
different.
think Adam, you were kind of talking about it a little bit too. Ooh, I love the lighthouse. We can talk about that a little other time. But I think you're right. I think he's using a kind of like almost gray filter. The
Yeah,
light looks
it's very gray, washed out
it feels
almost.
unnatural in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's what
and
dates it. To be honest,
Yeah, I
could
think so
be.
too. And I think sometimes some of the lines Byrne says are a little bit. She might be trying to hide her accent a little bit too, so they come off a little bit
Sure.
arch. They're not
Yeah.
quite there, so that might be where you're getting that kind of soap opera feel a little bit more to it as well.
And do you
But,
guys like Patrick Wilson? This is the first role I've really seen him in. I
I do.
think.
I think he's
Yeah.
great in all of these.
between this and the
didn't think
Conjuring,
he was.
I'll take it,
I
man.
didn't like him that much in this. I don't know. There's something I just didn't.
he's
think
not a
he-
very likable character. You mean as an
No, not the
actor or
character,
as
I
the
just-
as the
as an
character?
actor? As an actor, I don't know. Maybe it was just the
Okay.
character he was playing, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't like
There's
the
you need to see what is it? I think he's in it. I want to say it's him. Hold on, gang. Pause.
I've got
for
his
station
I've got his
identification.
IMDb on here for you.
This is KINS.
Tyler, Phil.
Filling. I'm filling. I don't
Yeah.
really have
Okay.
any
You
good
need to
filler
see.
today.
It's called.
Good job.
It's called Hard Candy. Blake, have you
Hard-
seen Hard Candy?
It's not sounding familiar to me.
Okay.
2005.
That's another David Slade joint. So welcome back, 30 Days a Night. It's Patrick Wilson and Ellen Page.
Okay.
That's definitely worth a watch, I would say.
Okay.
Very unsettling movie. Which has, I wonder how it's aged. Actually, I'd be interested to find out on that one. But maybe I'll watch that in between here, and I'll bring it
Sure.
up for what we're watching.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
any other kind of thoughts on that one, Adam?
I mean, I'm
Or-
good if you guys are. Like I said, you guys talked a lot and brought up a lot of good points. I don't have.
Well, I know
any-
this was your first time with it, so I was
Right.
kind of interested. I mean, that or over High Tension. Obviously, this is much better
This
than
is-
High
yeah,
Tension
this
for
is
you.
definitely
for me,
a
that's
better horror
a
film.
lot more than High Tension. Yes.
For sure. I would
Still
agree
not
with that.
still not top tier horror as far as like what scares me and stuff like that, but I still did enjoy it.
Okay.
I think
Well, luckily-
Hereditary unsettles and scares the shit out of me. Conjuring, as far as like Conjuring is just relentless in how much it scares. At least for me, it was
I
like
do
this
think-
movie was more. This movie was very well paced and where
Mhm.
they paced their scares, where they paced their jump scares versus just their unsettling kind of stuff.
Sure.
Conjuring to me does not. I haven't seen Conjuring in a few years, but Conjuring me did not do that, and it was just back to back to back, just constant, just fear and
Makes sense.
fucking
Yeah,
scares.
yeah. And I do think the overwhelming majority would say that The Conjuring is the better film than
Mhm.
Insidious, right? I think The Conjuring is
I think I like
is
Insidious more. Though.
most people's like, hey, this is the best horror movie of the 2010s. Most people would probably say The Conjuring.
Okay.
That's just kind of my 2 cents on that. But yeah, I'm with Nathaniel, man. I like both of them. The good thing is, like you said you don't think this is an outstanding horror movie. I think we got a fucking outstanding one coming next week.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So,
We'll get to
I
that in a bit.
haven't watched that in a while, so yeah, man, that's
I haven't watched
a-
that in about a year, so it'll be a little bit for me. But yes,
that's just
I'm
a
excited.
sad movie to watch.
I'm excited. All right, do we have anything
All
else?
right, should we bring back the listeners?
That's what I was
Let's do
gonna ask. All right, so listeners, welcome back. We are done with
Hello.
we're done with our spoiler talk and in-depth review. We are going to move on to the entropy list. The entropy list, for those of you who do not know, is our complete list of every movie we've reviewed, regardless of genre, all on one list, all on one fantastic, glorious, chaotic fucking list. All right.
And where can they find that list,
You
bro?
can find that list on my Letterboxd, or if you just want to click a quick little link to it, it's actually in the description. So we have 11 movies on there right now. Insidious will be number 12. So if you want to go take a look at where all the movies are at, go ahead and check the description. Blake, where are you putting Insidious?
Oh man. Hang
This
on,
is gonna be a tough one.
Yeah, let me pull up your letterbox really quick, so I can get the list up.
It's in the show notes if you need a quick link to it.
Okay,
If you have those up.
I got it up. Okay. I mean, this is hard, man, because it's a completely different genre. I think
That's the beauty of the entropy list.
I
though.
know, dude. It's beautiful and it sucks at the same time. This
I think
sounds-
I got where.
Go ahead.
I think
go
I
ahead.
kind of.
I need somebody else.
I think I
I
kind
think
of.
I think I know where I'm putting it too.
Okay, because what I'm thinking to myself sounds insane to when I say it internally. So I need somebody else to go ahead and then I'll discuss.
All right, Nathaniel,
See,
you go.
I think I got this one right at 6. I think I got this one slotting in above Tenet, below Green Room.
That's exactly where I have that as well.
Okay.
Ty?
I did not think you guys were gonna go that high. I'm totally for it being that high. I was going to put it there, but before you guys said your answers, I was gonna put it at 7 if you guys weren't gonna put it at 6. But if you guys want to put it at 6, I am absolutely
below Tenet, above Blind Spotting.
Yeah,
that's just where I was gonna put it as a safe bet for you guys. But
Mhm.
if you guys are, if you guys are willing to put it at 6, I am all for 6.
Yeah, I was thinking going above Blind Spotting, which sounds insane, right? For the message Blind Spotting has.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, man, that
yeah,
sounds
poor
really
Blind
crazy to
Spotting.
say
Blind
out
Spotting's
loud.
really become the gatekeeper here. of,
Oh yeah,
like-
that's the benchmark. It's like, okay, well, is it better than this movie or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost no matter what genre, whatever role it fulfills, but Blind Spotting's you got to.
Speaking of which, Adam, have you seen the new movie that Daveed Diggs is in?
No, he's in a new one.
I think it's a movie. Yeah, it's got Ethan Hawke, Daveed Diggs, and someone else. Another black actress, I want to say.
All right, hold
But
on. I'm looking up
it's-
his IMDb as we speak. Wait.
Well, then
I'm
in
trying to
terms of
find
the
it.
entropy list, I mean, the tough thing here is, so if me and Tyler have it at 7, you guys
good
have it
Lord
at
board.
6.
Well, I'm
what is
all
it?
for a 6. I just
Oh,
didn't think they were gonna put it at 6. But
Right,
if
'cause-
I'm definitely a 6 if they're a 6.
Okay, I was saying, because theoretically, I mean, the tiebreaker we were doing was the IMDb ratings for Tenet versus Insidious, which Tenet's probably blowing Insidious out the water, so we'd put it at 7.
Sure,
regardless,
Tenny's smashing it. Yeah,
I'm sure. So
I think 6 is kind of a good.
I think
one.
6 is a good spot. I don't think it's as good as Green Room, and
I'd rather watch
no
it.
facts.
I would
that-
also much
that's
rather
what
watch Green Room over Insidious.
Yeah, that's the one I kind of looked at. I was like, okay, well, if I'm looking at horror, I like it better than High Tension. Do I like it better than
It
Green
really-
Room? And I can't put it.
Yeah, it
above
really
Green
comes
Room.
down to do you want it above Blind Spotting? And I think we all agreed yes, it's reached that gatekeeper threshold.
Mhm.
But I don't think any of us would put it above Green Room. So it's really just comes down to, is it better or worse than Tenet?
I
think
mean,
we all
I
agree it's
think
better than
Tenet's the-
Tenet.
I would agree it's
Yeah.
better than Tenet.
I'd
Tenet
rather
has
watch
too many
Insidious.
problems.
Yeah, it's just
I wouldn't disagree with you.
yeah, an hour and 30 minutes that I enjoy, or 2 hours and 40 minutes that is kind of like, I'm picking an hour and 30 minutes every time.
Yeah. All right, we
Yeah,
agree on
that
6.
movie's called.
Yeah, let's do
Sorry.
it.
Yeah, let's do it on 6. Throw it on there, and then I'll talk about this in a second.
Okay. Yeah, we're okay. Well, I guess we'll just lock it in at number 6. I'll read the top 10, I guess, for our entry list then. Arrival 1, Pan's Labyrinth 2, 3 is Prisoners, 4 is Inception, 5 is Green Room, 6 is Insidious, 7 is Tenet, 8 Blind Spotting, 9 is The King of Staten Island, and 10 is Project Power.
I'm cool with it.
Out of 12, by the way, listeners.
Yeah.
Don't think Project
Yeah.
Powers. We think it's the godsend of all movies because it's in the top 10. There's only 12.
I'm
So-
getting really sad looking at this entropy list, trying to figure out where we would possibly put Hereditary.
Oh,
Ooh, that's gonna be a fun one.
Well, I guess you just spoiled our next review. Anyway, next week, join us for Hereditary. That's streaming, as we said earlier. It's going to be streaming or is already streaming by the time you're listening to this on Amazon Prime. It is there. Please go watch it. It's fantastic. I can't wait to watch it. This is Tyler's first time watching, actually.
It will be.
It is.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So I'm excited.
stoked,
I didn't
dude.
think
I
we
am
had.
too.
I didn't think we had a first timer on this one, but I'm excited for that. Tyler's going to give it his first watch.
I think Tyler will like it.
I will too.
This is one that's like, you gotta watch it
Yeah.
at nighttime though.
Oh,
And if you
100%.
watch
Yes.
somebody
Come
else
on,
has
come on.
seen it-
Who you think I
Yeah.
am? Huh? I'm gonna watch
Fair
a horror
enough.
movie during the day.
Fair enough.
So it's a series. It's a series. I'm sorry, not a movie coming out called The Good Lord Bird, and
Okay.
David Diggs stars as Frederick Douglass, famous author and abolitionist, but it's starring Ethan
Of course.
Hawke. And it's the IMDb summary is Ethan Hawke stars as abolitionist John Brown in this limited series based on
Oh.
the novel. Onion, quote unquote, is a fictional enslaved boy who becomes a member of Brown's family of abolitionist soldiers and
Yeah,
finds
the
himself
Harper's
in
Ferry.
1859 raids at Harper's Ferry.
Yeah, I'm a big history guy. I remember the Harper's Ferry stuff. This is actually, I'm very interested in this.
Yeah, and I
What
do
is
not
this-
know the Harper's Ferry, so this will be interesting for me.
It's basically a militia tries to take over the armory of a town in, I think it's Virginia, Harper's Ferry, Virginia. Harper's Ferry, so it's somewhere in the south.
Okay, well,
Um,
maybe something to
yeah,
watch if
very-
you like David Diggs or Ethan Hawke too.
do you know what platform that's coming to?
Showtime.
Showtime. Ugh, great. I don't have that, so may have to wait a little bit. It's Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. In case anybody was wondering, Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review?
Well, I am looking that up right now, my friend.
All
and
right,
I can
all
tell you.
right, all right. I should maybe check the email. That might be cool too. You know,
Could be.
could be. You never know. Maybe you never know. Maybe Waz wrote in again.
Could be. It could be the Waz.
Could be the Waz.
Last one was still Mini Fragista, so we are
Fresh out of
waiting-
5-star reviews. Well,
waiting for a
in case a
5-star review.
listener wants to leave a 5-star review, why don't you tell them what that gets them?
Well, if you want to give us a 5-star review, we will read it out on the podcast. It can be anything you want to say, in good conscience, anyways. But it could be mean, it can be funny, it can be happy, it can be sad. Tell us about it. Just give us 5 stars. Otherwise, I won't read it. So there you go.
Simple as that. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be basically the end of the episode. We'll go to
Let's
the
send her on home.
Let's send her on home. This has been Back Row Banter. You can find it live, usually every Tuesday morning, but not this week. Tuesdays is usually when we go up live. This one will be going out later in the week, but expect our episodes on Tuesdays. Please share the podcast. We would love to grow, just like Nathaniel and his hand trees from earlier. There we go. Another visual gag. We're gonna have to get video eventually. At this point, it's getting bad.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'd love to grow. So please share it with a friend or family member or anybody.
Oh
you
yeah,
think
what can we
might
say
enjoy.
this week? Maybe it's a coworker.
ghost from the
Uber
further?
driver was
Could be a
happy.
ghost. Could be a ghost. If
Ghost.
you're doing any
Yeah.
astral projecting and you meet a
Yeah.
ghost, that you think-
Yeah.
Friendly or faux ghost at that.
yeah,
It
Of
could be
course.
Casper,
Could be either.
or it could be
Please, yeah.
the guy from the further with the bike.
We're welcome. We just want listeners. We don't care if they're good or bad.
If you are a ghost, welcome.
Leave a 5-star review. Let us know how you're doing. If you want to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram or Back Row Banter Pod. YouTube is just Back Row Banter. Please go sub to us there. We'd appreciate that. And if you want to contact us for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, your reviews, or your movie suggestions, please do so at backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. Blake, where can the listeners and the people at home find you?
Letterboxd, man. BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some stuff. I'm super excited for next week doing Hereditary.
Mhm,
So yeah, man, that's about it.
All right.
Popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn. Go ahead.
Adam. We'll mix it up
Oh,
this week.
whoa, whoa! This is a curveball. I don't know how to react. All right. Twitter, I'm at amschwartzy. Letterboxd, same thing actually, because those are linked, I think. So, and then Twitch, I'm at Aish. That's twitch.tv/AYYSH. I will try to stream, but I've been really busy. So, popcorn, Nathaniel.
So you can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. And then you can also find me on Letterboxd and Twitter at NSGingrich. And that is NSGingrich. Popcorn, Tyler.
Hey guys, it's me, Tyler.
Tyler.
Twitch.tv/Eltrabajo, ELTRABAJO87. And Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter are all Tyler Vidalis. That's VIDALES.
Fantastic. I can't wait for Hereditary, guys.
Me too. I'm hyped.
I mean,
It's gonna be
I'm
a good
kind of
time.
I'm dreading watching it again because I know what I'm gonna have to go through. But
Oh yeah, dude. That movie is so sad to watch. It's just draining. It's one of
it
those
is
movies.
draining
You
is a
finish
good
it,
word to watch.
and you're
It's
like,
so
"Thank God this
exhausting
movie's
to
over."
watch.
It's a traumatic experience.
It
For
is,
sure.
but in a good way. In a good way. All right, we'll see you guys then next week for Hereditary. We'll be RB.
Be excellent to each other. Now,
Thanks for stopping by. BRB.
BRB. Enjoy your week, by the way.
Oh, I'll do that
For you
listeners.
guys
Enjoy
and
your
the
week.
listeners as well.
Of course.
America. Ready for another lesson.
There he is.
Hey.
Now recording.
Jarek.
It still baffles me how you got Gyrac out of Jark.
It's just Craig backwards.
Oh, I'm aware, but he says
Wow.
Gyrac.
I didn't
but
even
I just
realize that. That it was Craig backwards.
yes, that part I realized. I just don't know where the rack part comes from that Tyler keeps going after.